Okay, I think just to keep everything on time, Kara, we can go ahead and get started now.
Sure, thanks, Nikki. And before we begin, Nikki will do some background and some introductions, but before we start, I just want to do a land acknowledgement, recognizing even though this is a virtual meeting, we're hosting on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis people. I would like to recognize that we're connected by the land that we are all residing upon, and to reaffirm our relationship with each other. If we could just take a minute in remembrance and in honor of the children that we recently heard have been found. We could just pause, connect to that spirit with respect and honor. Thanks, everyone. Nikki, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm just going to do a bit of an introduction to ourselves. My name is Nikki Desjardins, and I am the engagement specialist here at SSHRF. Also joined by Kara Spence, who is the acting director of programs and partnerships right now. So I just want to mention that this is being recorded, and we will make the slides and the recording available to everyone who is registered after the event is over. I also just want to guide your direction to the Q&A box. There's also a chat box, so we'll make sure to monitor both. But if you can pop your questions into the Q&A box, we will address them at the very end when we get to the Q&A session. But we don't want you to forget any of those great questions, so just feel free to pop them into that Q&A box whenever they come to mind throughout the presentation. Next slide. Okay, so the agenda for today, we'll go over a little bit, like I said, about who SSHRF is. Many of you are familiar with SSHRF, but we are happy to have a lot on the call today, I think, that may not be as familiar with our organization. So I'll talk a little bit about who we are as an organization. We'll provide a bit of the program overview, the solutions program itself, and then talk a little bit more specifically about this START award and what it all entails. When we do talk about that, we'll go over eligibility, the application process, review process, and criteria, and then just a little bit of a reminder about the important dates that will come up so that you don't miss any of those deadlines. And we'll have some tips and chance for Q&A at the end of the presentation. Okay, so Saskatchewan Health Research Foundation, or SSHRF, as we like to refer to ourselves, is a provincial agency that funds, supports, and promotes the impact of health research that matters to Saskatchewan. So basically what that means is we do three things. We fund health research, and we do that through a variety of opportunities. They're either opportunities such as this one that are led by SSHRF, and but we also partner on other opportunities that give our researchers from Saskatchewan and those involved in research from the ecosystem a chance to have access and be more competitive at the national and sometimes even international stage. We support research, so that is a variety of ways. We support individual researchers and teams from the application stage all the way through to when they receive funding and what that means in terms of the follow-up that is involved in holding SSHRF funds. But we also host events. This is another example, an information session so that you have everything you need to apply to our competitions and hopefully be successful. But we also host events after you receive your funding, and also different events such as last week we held a social media for researchers webinar. So we like to be able to support our research community with resources and tools that help them either get through that application process or manage their funds afterwards, and also all the way through to sharing their research with the broader audience of the province. The last thing that we do is also promote the impact of health research. So that really is us trying to find a way to really share the story of health research beyond the health research ecosystem here in Saskatchewan. So we look for stories that we can either produce or share with the broader audience and all of our varied stakeholders. Go to the next slide, Kara. So all of this work that we do to fund, support, and promote health research in the province is helping us move towards that common goal of improved health of Saskatchewan citizens, a high-performing health ecosystem, and a robust culture of research and innovation. So SHRF really does believe that health research is vital to achieving that purpose. And those goals that are common with other organizations also in the province. Where we believe SHRF really adds value and is vital is in enabling the very best health research that we can support here in Saskatchewan. So we do that through a variety of activities. One way is upholding a rigorous peer review process. So that's really a high standard. We pride ourselves on knowing how to ensure that the applications that we are funding are of the very best quality and have the most potential for impact. We follow up and do measurement of individual projects, but also at the program level to ensure that we are meeting the needs of all our varied stakeholders. And we share that impact of that funded research. That includes stories, but also data on how we're doing, how the impact is really affecting people in Saskatchewan. We do all of this work by collaborating with partners. So it's a great way to stay in tune, where we pride ourselves on being a bit of a neutral convener for the health research community. So we are able to partner with people that maybe need a connection to research. We can pool our funds and provide more support by gearing investments towards that best high quality research. And we provide a lot of expertise in that area that some organizations may not have the capacity or the expertise to run peer-reviewed competitions or really know where best to pool our investment to really make the biggest impact. So that's something that we partner with other organizations at the local to national to international level to really maximize the impact of this work. So that gives you a little bit of an overview. We are pride ourselves on being accessible. So we just really like to connect with the research community, and today is that opportunity to do that. And we're excited to bring you more information about our solutions program and all that's involved. So I'm gonna hand it over to Kara, and I will man the Q&A box and make sure that we get all your questions answered at the end.
Thank you, Nikki. And thanks for the introduction. Again, I'm Kara Spence, and I'm really happy and grateful that I get to join SHRF for a period of time, helping to float the boat, as I say, while Karen's on leave. So as part of that is helping to launch the new funding program, funding pathway really for SHRF, and that's pathway is called Solutions. So Solutions was launched unofficially last year with virtual care, and many of you may have either applied or have been funded under that program. And we officially launched it in May 20th, just a couple weeks ago, the formal launch of the Solutions program. So I just wanted to take a moment to kind of go through the pathway with you so you understand the bigger picture of how the Solutions program works. So as said, it's a progressive funding program. You can find all this information on the website. But what that means is that it's looking to build on work, partnerships, and relationships over a period of time, as opposed to just doing sort of one-offs or even investigator-led work. What SHRF is looking to do and aiming to do is sort of look for partners and pool resources and bring sort of the ecosystem of researchers in our Saskatchewan community together to really focus on a target. So this year, or for this round, it's, as I mentioned, virtual care was last year. This year is addictions. So what does that mean? So how did the addictions come to be? That sort of began even last year and probably even prior, but it was to respond to sort of the impact of the COVID pandemic. We just saw a tremendous increase in addictions, in the poor outcomes of addiction or addictive and substance use, and it clearly became a target of concern for all of the the province. So that sort of initiated the conversations. The pathway begins with these conversations with the stakeholders. What is the target? What is the focus? What do we need to pool and harness and focus on to get some real impact and change in the community? So it's really for application and impact. So that sort of begins the conversation on identifying a target area. And then it moves into where we are now, where you sort of, the funding starts to roll. So we'll talk about this, the START Award, which is the purpose of this session. And then the START Award is sort of engagement or team development awards that bring people together to get really clear on what approach they want to take towards the target, in this case, addictions. Then the formal call is open. That call is July 6th will be open, and the deadline is at the end of November. Similar to last year for the virtual care, the solutions call is open. There's an eligibility phase or stage that you need to ensure that you meet all the criteria, and then you can move on to the full application. As I mentioned, the full application for the large award is November 30th. And there's two avenues for funding. There's the innovation funding, which is 1 year, $50,000. And there's impact funding, which is 2 years, $250,000. And we wanted to keep that sort of momentum going, or that this progressive funding going. So there's an opportunity for the innovative. So the difference is innovative, like a new idea, let's try something. There's an opportunity at the end of year one to reapply, to have sort of bridge funding or scale up funding to kind of get the innovation projects scaled up and up to speed with the impact groups. And the impact funding is, we've got an idea, we know it works, and now we want to make a splash. We want this to roll out and see what kind of impact we can have. So that will take both of the projects up to that sort of end of the year two, which would be year three of the pathway. At what time, or at what point, there'll be a final opportunity for one successful team to have funding, but also wraparound supports. So we'll, all along this pathway, SSHRF is positioned to bring in partners, bring in players, bring in stakeholders, at all levels. We recognize that we can't meet these targets without the contribution of the whole community. So we can't do it alone. We need to work together. So the final opportunity is to see how we might be able to support a really strong team to take their project, you know, and evolve to the next level and even beyond our funding pathway. I direct you to our website. We've got a nice video that Nikki's prepared, and we've got our CEO, Patrick, who's also spoken to this. That's the long and the short of the pathway as a whole. So let's get into this. I mentioned quite a few of these points, but the purpose of the program is to mobilize the research community and partners. So that's to get everyone that's sort of invested in this target, in this case, addictions, which, you know, is really all of us, but to mobilize not only the research community, but the service providers, the community-based organizations, the policymakers, the decision makers, community leaders, but as well as people that are impacted or can help us and help direct and inform appropriate approaches to address the issue. To focus and coordinate skills, resources, and perspectives. So that's the idea of coming together, sharing resources, pooling resources, bringing our heads and our ideas together from multiple perspectives, so we get closer to you know, solutions that are relevant, and to address timely SaskHealth health challenges. So to make sure that we're aiming at the focus, at the agreed upon target area. In this case, addictions. So the focus for 2021 is, as mentioned, addiction. So how do we see addictions? It's both compulsive behavior and or substance use. So it's behavior and substance, despite negative consequences. So this continued behavior or use creates a dependency, and then symptoms of withdrawal when either the pattern is disrupted or the use is disrupted. So it's the combination of health, social, and systemic factors that sort of impact addictions to all of our, I would say, all of our personal and social lives. And this funding is really to look at the whole lifeline of addictions, from prevention, treatment, recovery, harm reduction, the whole spectrum of addictions. So when you're thinking of addictions, try and think of that whole lifeline, so that there is work there for the prevention as well as to support people in recovery. So here we are, we've identified, we've done the engagement. Engagement, of course, goes all the way through, because we need that interaction, that engagement, that feedback from everyone to make sure that we stay on track. So we've identified our target area, and now we're starting to roll into the funding piece of it. So we're at this, for the addictions call, we're at the START award, and that's where we are today. So the START, we'll unpack it a bit. If you are aware of the program from last year, Virtual Care, for instance, there in the middle bar there with the funding has already been allocated. So here we are at the START. So the purpose of the START Award is really two main objectives: engagement and team building. So engagement of the meaningful engagement with those who need to be part of the solution or part of the plan, and then funds to support bringing that team together. So specifically the objectives. So to support team development, so bringing your team together, the activities of bringing people together, identifying what your target solution will be, discussing what the appropriate approach or research question might be, so that real teamwork. Definitely to support the meaningful engagement of those that need to be part of it. So even if you don't have all of the players or all of the people that you need on your team at this point, this is the opportunity to reach out and engage. We really, do I say it here? Yeah, we really encourage you. At this stage, it's not required, but we encourage you to use these funds to directly engage with knowledge users, stakeholders, but specifically those with lived and living experiences and their supports, because that will be mandatory or a requirement for the full application, because we recognize that it's the people with lived and living experiences that are the experts. They do know what works and doesn't work, and that what services are supportive and the needs that they have. So think about that, really be conscious about that requirement in the full application to include these important individuals. Examples that you could use these funds for: recruiting team members. So, reaching out, holding meetings, connecting with people that you think that would round out your team or support your team. Again, engaging those with lived and living experiences and their supporters. Facilitation of group meetings, discussions. Part of these funds is to figure out, well, what is our solution? What is our proposal? What are our questions? What's an appropriate approach to this work? So this funding can support those conversations, planning sessions, engagement activities. So, how are you going to engage with your communities that you want to work with? That certainly the funds can cover some of those activities. Securing stakeholder commitments. It's a lot of the same sort of work, but from various areas and perspectives. On one hand, you've got people with lived experiences that are an important part of the team and the conversation, and you also have decision makers and leaders that are just as important, or part of that, the full wholesome of the team. And as well, you can use these funds for developing the work plans and the roles and the responsibilities for those that will be moving on to the full application. So who's going to do what and what does that look like? You can use these monies to determine. So funded applications will include these points. So certainly alignment with the focus area. addiction. So ensuring that you're meeting the objectives of the full call. Again, I'll point you to the website. There's lots of information on there, and you can always reach out if you have questions. We want to see a clear engagement plan. So who do you want to engage with, and how are you going to do that? It includes a timeline. So we want to know who's on your team, who do you want to engage to be part of even the conversation if they're not wanting to be part of the whole team, but certainly conversations need to be had, and that communication plan. Team building and engagement activities. So what activities specifically do you plan to undertake? And also just in team science and building teams and working with teams to make sure that all the team members have a role and a contribution. So we want you to outline what each team member, the role that they play and the contribution that they'll make. You can outline, and please do outline, your collaborative relationships within your team and those that you would like to reach out to. So getting a good idea of what your dream team or your big picture looks like. Not only those that you already are working with, but those that you would like to engage. We'd like to see that. We want to ensure all the activities are conducted within Saskatchewan, as we are a Saskatchewan funding agency, and as well that outline a timeline of the activities and what you hope to accomplish. The awards range between $2,500 up to $5,000. Now we don't ask for matching or in-kind funding, so that gives you a little bit of buffer there. Of course, that's helpful, but it's not a requirement. And ensure that your budget is responsible and justified. So you will need to have a clear budget, but as well a justification. The funding end date for these monies will end at November 30th, which is the same day where the full application is due. So you have some time to get your team together and then to continue that engagement throughout the whole duration of this call. As a result, this funding is not eligible for extension and the activities and work must be wrapped up by the application date, November 30th. Eligibility. So the START Awards must be co-led by an academic and non-academic partner. And either one can be the nominated PI. So either an academic or non-academic partner, anyone can apply as long as you can, your CRA approved for financial reporting, because we'll need you to do financial reporting back to SHRF. So if you don't have a co-lead, say you're a community-based partner and you don't have a relationship with a researcher, or you're a researcher and you're looking for access or a group that works in the area, please reach out. We're happy to facilitate this requirement for you, as well as any other pieces of that team that you can see that is a limitation or a gap in your work. We can definitely help to see if we can support you on that. So there's three layers of, or three types of roles. There's the applicants, so that's the PI, the co-PI, so that's a shared role, academic, non-academic, and then the co-Is. The co-applicants have some sort of contribution to the project. The personnel, they can be paid from the award. They're not part of the core team, but they do, they help to support the work. They might do administrative tasks, these kind of things. The personnel is really important part of the team, and supporters, those that may not be part of the core research team, but support the work. Letters of support from your supporters are strongly encouraged. Stakeholders that recognize the importance of your work. As mentioned, the nominated principal applicant we need one person to sort of be that contact point for SHRF. So they're responsible for the overall direction of the proposed activities, their administrative and financial responsibilities of the funding, and that will be the key person that will be in communication with SHRF, and of course is responsible to submit the application to SHRF before the deadline, which I'll mention a little later on, but July 15th. The co-principal applicant, again, an equal partner, and is just sort of is in a way, we're really looking to expand that the breadth of our research team. So recognizing that we have shared expertise. So they're to be in a complementary role to that of the PI, of the other the nominated principal applicant. And as well provides overall direction of the proposed activities and leadership of the team. And an important criteria is that as a principal or co-principal applicant, you can only submit one application per call, but you can be named as many other submissions as co-applicants. So you can join other teams. This will be really important for some of our community-based partners who are critical to this work. You can lead one, but you can be part of many other teams or even as a supporter. So co-applicants, they bring value or strength to the activities. So we're not looking just to, I think you can list 10. It's not just to fill in the lines or the gaps. Just really think about what expertise you need on your team, how that expertise of your co-applicants strengthen and bring value to your team and to the activities you propose to take on. Team members, there's no minimum requirement. There's, besides the co-shared lead, there's no required dynamic, so you don't need one stakeholder or one provider at this point or for this call. As I mentioned, those living those with living and lived experiences will be required for the solutions addictions, but they're not required at this stage. So who should be involved? Who is the stakeholder group, or who are our research? What's in the ecosystem of applicable and directed research? Well, here's some examples of who sits in the ecosystem. The idea is that we all play a role and we all have expertise and we all have a contribute to finding a solution to addictions. So we like to see well-rounded teams, we like to see those multiple perspectives, we want to see a diversity in views. Again, if you are looking for a partner, you can recognize a gap in your team and you're not sure how to fill it, you can use these funds to do some of that engagement activities, but you can also certainly reach out to us. Allowable expenses. So what can you do with these funds? So your expenses are to meet the objective of the call. So think of that when you're developing your budget. Make sure that your budget is in parallel to what it is that the activities you want to take on. Direct costs only, so no indirect costs of research. Of course, we're a fiscally responsible organization and we look for cost-efficient budgets, and we do reserve the right to partially fund applications. And of course, refer to the SSHRF funding guide for all our funding policies. Activities that are not eligible. So these are not research funds. They don't support the collecting or analyzing of data. They're not to support the writing, conference papers, articles, presentations, any of that sort of dissemination work. It's not to support the writing or the preparation of the grant or application, and equipment cannot be purchased with these funds. So the process, we're not running this competition through the RMS. If you're familiar with SSHRF, I'm sure you're familiar with the RMS. This will be done on our website on an online form. So as a result, contribution forms for team members are not required. So you may be happy to know that. So that's one less task that you'll need to plan for. So all the applications are submitted electronically through the website. And so you'll see here we go. This is what it looks like. There's two places where you can access it through the Solutions Addiction website formally. So if you go to our website, there's a landing page for Solutions Program, there's a landing page for the virtual care, and there's a landing page for addictions. So you can access the START Awards through the addictions landing page, or you can go to our funding opportunities. So you don't need to log in to apply, because the login to apply goes to the RMS. You simply just need to press the Apply Now button. You'll also notice the other orange button there, the application package, that will give you all the details and much more information than I'm giving you today. So please review that and keep it near when you're completing your application. So what's in the Apply Now button? So behind the button is an online form. In there, so it's attributed to your computer, so only really one person will be able to complete this form. And you can move forward and back. Some of the fields are mandatory, and if you're not ready to complete the form, just put something in that box so you can proceed to the next page, and you can navigate forward and back through the application, but do not submit until you are complete and you're ready to submit, because those applications cannot be returned to you. To return them to you, we would need to remove all the information within. So you can, sort of jump through and get a sense of what it's asking and do it in a Word document, or you can do it right in the form. But this is what the online application is asking of you. So information on both the co-leads, both the academic and the non-academic partner. A list, just a list of the team members and the organizations and the role that they'll play. Lay title and lay summary. So this is just high level, so we just kind of get an idea of what your work is proposing, and it can also be for an external audience. So just keep that as a lay level. The geographical location, so where you want to do your work, and the listing the target audiences, agencies, individuals that you're hoping to connect with or to engage with. The proposal itself is an upload. It's 3 pages maximum, and it's looking for 4 main areas. So the scope or area of addictions you're seeking to address, and the need or the urgency behind that. The appropriateness of the team that you've brought together and the team that you hope to create or develop through the funds. The proposed activities, which is related to the detailed engagement and communication plans of those activities. So what is it that so who do you want to connect with, and what do you plan to do with these funds? So really detailed activities and communication plan. And of course, your expected outcomes. So what you're hoping to be able to achieve. The timeline is a 1-page upload. So how you foresee this rolling out. Roles and responsibilities of each team member. So that also is an upload 1 page to be clear on who is part of your team, who you hope to be part of your team, and the role that they'll play. Budget and the justification, upload 1 page. Any cash or in-kind contributions, you can upload confirmations, not required. And a signed organizational approval form. So if you need if you're in an organization or institution that needs to see the full application before they sign off, then contact SHRF and we can send you that PDF for you to get your signature form and then send it back to us. If you're in an institution that doesn't have a research office or an organization that doesn't have that kind of process, then the PI will sign off. Or if you have organizational approval for your overseer to approve that they agree with this work. That signature form is available on the application form, and you'll have it signed and then upload it. So I hope that's clear. Once you get in there, you'll see basically the long and the short of it is you can navigate through it by, putting placeholders into the boxes if you need to proceed, but please don't submit until you're ready. The review process. So these applications are reviewed internally by SHRF, and we consider the following. So is the purpose, objective, and the outcomes clear and well-defined? Is it aligned with the program, with the objectives of the funding? Does the application propose to meaningfully engage a diverse sector of knowledge users, stakeholders, and persons with lived or living experiences? Are the activities feasible and the timeline reasonable? Is the budget appropriate, fiscally responsible, and justified? And your communication engagement plan. Important date. So as mentioned, we launched the competition on May 20th. The webinar today, June 2nd. We will send out a link to this session to the registrants, and as well we'll post it on our website so you can refer back. The deadline is rolling, so just apply early. There's limited funds as always, so we'll take them as they come, and we'll cut off on July 15th. So I encourage you to start an application if you're interested. Funding decisions will be between 5 and 8 days, so we'll review them as they come in, and then the funding will start, 5 and 8 days after you've been approved for funding. And as mentioned, the end date is hard at November 30th, not subject to any renewal. And of course, you might have your own institutional deadlines. Please refer to your offices for that. So tips, well, read the funding guide and application package so that you're really clear on the objectives of the call. Get your applications in to secure some of the funds, because funds are limited. Really think about your budget. Make sure your budget and your activities work together. And just be clear. Just communicate as clearly as you can so that we just have a good understanding of what the activities and work you want to do and the team you're looking to create, develop. You can reach out to me directly, C. Spence at SHRF. If you have any problems or questions with the online form, then reach out to Tanya. She's our guru. She knows all. So any technical questions, or if you need that PDF of your application returned to you, that would be Tanya. And questions. This is the best part. So Nikki, if you wouldn't mind facilitating this part.
Yeah, not a problem. We do have a few that I'll just go through the chat panel there as well. And it's okay if you want to open those up so we can kind of run through if you like to see them. So first of all, can you apply for the START if you already hold a solution grant, if you plan to apply for the impact funding?
Yes. Yes. So this START award is for the addiction. So if you've been funded with virtual care or funded in the solutions program in the past, congratulations, carry on your good work. This START award is for addiction. So you'll need to just speak to the addictions call.
Okay. Would adding treatment capacity as well as recovery-oriented systems of care qualify?
Can you repeat that question? Like
yeah.
Service provision, basically?
Pardon me?
Like service provision?
It's in the chat panel there. So would adding treatment capacity as well as recovery-oriented systems of care qualify?
Maybe reach out to me direct. Oh, there's my chat. I was like, where's my chat button? But it's hiding here. Maybe reach out to me directly so that we can just talk about what that means. Would the funding cover like service provision? Not so much. They're engagement money. So, could it be like incentives potentially? But just reach out on any sort of provision, and we'll see if that meets the terms.
Yeah, and I think just to keep in mind too that the objective of the START is to sort of build that team. So then you can also take a look. We will have the full solutions package available July 6th, so we can read a little bit more detail on what the full solutions program would cover as well. Okay, moving along. Can timelines go beyond November 30th? I think you mentioned that just at the end there, that is a hard deadline just because they are used to apply for the full solutions program. So that's why that cutoff date is November 30th.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. For START, can the money cover software costs? For instance, I would be using mapping software.
Software costs, I would see that would be in preparation for your application. It's not for research purposes, obviously, but if it's to get a better idea of your population, your communities, the need, the prevalence, again, make sure that's justified in your budget and that it's clear, because you don't want any sort of gray and then that be cut from your budget. So just be real clear what the intention of that software would be, and make sure it's not research related and that it's more for engagement.
Can you clarify what an organization form is for the application?
The organization form for the application. Maybe I may have.
That may be referring to the if you need institution approvals.
Oh yeah, possibly. So different institutions and organizations require processes for sign off. So if you work in a community-based organization, you just work internally. Like, do you need your supervisor to approve that you could take on this work? At the academic institutions, they have research services or research offices that require higher level signatures and signature policies and processes. So there isn't a required upload of that signature form. So just work internally in your organization to determine who should sign that.
Okay. Is the START award a prerequisite for applying to the solution funding?
No, good question. That's a great question. No, these are just startup funds. These are just to kind of get you going. But if you're good to go, the full announcement will be July 6th. So again, watch our website and you know, Nikki will send out, she'll let you know that it goes live, but no, it is not a requirement for the full application.
Okay, and yeah, I think if you want to maybe even bounce back to the contacts page there, we can put that up on the screen. If we can get to that page. But we will also follow up, and I will make sure to copy Kara directly on the follow-up email so that everyone on the call here would have access to Kara directly.
Yeah, for sure. Just if there's any questions or you really just want to connect or anything, I'm widely available, and I'd be happy to hear about your work and your interest in your area. So reach out if you have any questions or if you need to connect with a group beyond your peeps.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we want to get across here, is that we are very accessible, and we love to chat with what you're planning and make sure that it's in alignment before you begin that application process. We would hate for you to go through all of that work and find out that something maybe wasn't eligible or applicable to the START funding. So definitely give Kara a shout, reach out, and just have a conversation, because that can definitely save you some time and effort, and also help you to clarify and make sure that you're able to put out the best application possible.
I think maybe something important to mention here, that for the full application, that does need to go through an institution that holds an MOU, funding MOU with SSHRF. So that's typically an academic institution. So although these START funds are available kind of to any organization, not just academic, and we really do encourage community-based or service organizations to take the lead and to hold the funds and really guide this work. For the full application, you will need an academic partner, because it will need to go, the funding, it needs to be held at that level of institution. So that would come to fore at the eligibility stage. So eligibility opens at the same time as the competition opens, so July 6th, and eligibility cutoff is
September. I want to say September 15th.
I had September 15th in my mind too, so we'll go with that probably. But anyway, you'll see in the application. But there's an eligibility cutoff where at what point we make sure that your team is eligible to hold SSHRF funds, and that you have all the required team members.
Okay.
So was that thorough?
Yeah, so far we've addressed all the questions in the chat panel there. We have some extra time, so we will stay on the line for a few more minutes if you are just sort of formulating your question. We don't want you to miss that opportunity. But again, this will be posted, and if you do have questions after the presentation here, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at SSHRF, because we would be happy to answer them offline, or if you have a question that's very specific that you're wondering about, again, that conversation with Kara can just clear up everything that you need so that you can keep the process flowing. So
sometimes that conversation is helpful too when we're looking at the application. So if you have any doubts or any wonders, just reach out. Can't go wrong.
So we have another one here. It appears as though the program follows patient-oriented research model in terms of building a team. Is that correct? Correct perception?
Well, when you're talking about addictions, that representation or that perspective or guidance from someone with lived or living experience is critical. Otherwise, how do we know we're getting near a solution to a problem that you may not have yourself, right? So having that patient perspective is important for applicable research, and especially in terms of addictions. Is it specifically a patient-oriented model? No. In the full call, however, we have partners that are coming on. So as part of this funding pathway, we're bringing partners with, like we were talking about, pooling and sharing resources. So we're bringing our partners in that have sort of stake in this, and you know, Skipper, for instance, would be one of our partners. And so in the full call, there'll be priority announcements that will be specific to our partners. And so Skipper, I think I think Brittany might be on the line, but anyway, I'm you know, if you're really aligned with one of our partners, is that a comment from Brittany?
I am.
If you're aligned with one of our partners and their orientation or their priority, then you'll just indicate that on your application form, and then they'll be part of that review. But as far as our model, no, not specifically. We just really see the importance in addictions work to have that representation as part of the conversation.
Great. Yeah, I don't see any more questions, but again, we'll just give it a minute. But I just want to say thank you for joining us, in case some of you need to leave and prepare for another meeting, or have something else going on in your day, hopefully getting outside and enjoying the heat. But yeah, I just want to, again, anytime you need to reach out, we are here to answer your questions. So thank you very much for participating today and giving us your time so that we could share more information, because we're really excited about this program.
Thank you. Thank you all for your work in addictions, your interest in addictions, and of course, this funding opportunity.